So now I welcome Collin Müller from Burda Media, who will tell us about Thunder and the lessons learned in the past year of their journey. Welcome, Collin.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, and I'll start with a short video, so I have less work later.
Do you visit your favorite restaurant because they use a high-tech stove? Do you read your favorite online magazines because they run the latest content management system? Probably not. You love that restaurant because they cook delicious food, the atmosphere is cozy, and the staff are friendly. You read those magazines because they give you the latest news, compelling stories, and awesome visuals. Just in the same way restaurants don't compete through their kitchen equipment, publishers don't excel in technology. What really matters are the brilliant minds of journalists. Yet no online publication can exist without a high-performance, dependable content management system. That's why we founded the Thunder Coalition, a community of publishers and industry partners united to develop the industry's best open-source digital publishing technology. Over the past 15 years, the media industry has massively migrated from proprietary solutions to open source. Guess what? There remains one area where publishers still use proprietary solutions. Or worse yet, they try programming their own software, content management systems. This situation has to change. So we went down that road and created Thunder, a community-driven publishing platform based on Drupal 8. It's free, and you can use it with no obligation whatsoever. You don't even have to tell us that you're using it. As one of the largest publishing houses in Europe, we have put all our experience and expertise into creating Thunder. We realized that maintaining sites was becoming less and less efficient keeping up with the speed of innovation. First, we created Thunder for our own publications, and you can already see it in action with innovative user experiences across our brands. What you can't see, though, is how it saves us costs, shortens time to market, and accelerates editorial processes. Now, we want you to also benefit from the Thunder experience. Join the Thunder Coalition now and help us build a strong open source community to make Thunder better and better. Everyone can use, develop, and share new Thunder functionalities, so each partner can leverage contributions from the entire community. Industry partners are also joining the coalition with services like video streaming and interactive content on a freemium basis. Together, we will shape Thunder into being the best open source content management system for professional publishing. Let's change the game forever by establishing a culture of cooperation and sharing. Join the Thunder Coalition now. Spread the word, contribute, and benefit.
So it's been about 1 year since we launched that video, and we started speaking publicly about Thunder. And I would like to share with you the biggest lessons we've learned over the course of the past year. Actually, it's 2 years since we started the Thunder project. I want to share with you the one big thing that we have learned, the overarching big thing that we have learned in the past year. And that is, open source is about money. And in the retrospective, it's not surprising, but we didn't expect to have that learning when we started with Thunder. It's the biggest open source project, or the first big open source project we did at Hubert Burda. And so it was a surprise to us that it's not about making the world a better place. Well, of course we do that, but the main driver behind open source is money. And actually it has always been like that from the very beginning. That's why I would like to speak about the open web first. The internet has been a gigantic economic stimulus plan over the past 25 years. It has created trillions of revenues, millions or billions of new jobs, and we all benefit from that huge machine that drives innovation and prosperity in the world. And a major factor why that was like that in the past 25 years are those two guys, Bill Clinton and Al Gore. Their administration at the beginning of the 90s They recognized that open source technologies, open standards, and the open web would be a nice driver to enhance national industrial performance. And so they started a national stimulus plan, and they supported the open web and open standards. And they did that in 3 ways. First, they had supply-side activities. They funded research and innovation activities at universities and research institutes so that they could develop open standards and open source products without the need to directly profit or benefit from them. Then they funded demand-side activities. So they asked government agencies and institutions to purchase products and services from those companies who developed products based on open standards. And third, those companies who then had their first clients in the government, they needed to scale, they needed to find new revenue sources, so they needed regular customers, and that's why they funded the buildup of the internet infrastructure in America in order to connect people and households to the internet. And I believe that those 3 factors, or that program, is one of the major factors why the American online industry is so strong today. Open standards, those are the 2 things why open standards matter. Because first, they decrease the investment risk, because I know if I develop a product that adheres to an open standard, it can connect to all the other products in the world. And it levels the playing field, because it's not only the big guys that can play in this game, because all the others, as long as they adhere to those standards, they can just join the game. So how do they work, those open standards? And why do they drive prosperity and innovation? The first example is email. SMTP, we all know it, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. It's way older than Bill Clinton or Al Gore. I think it's from the 70s. It's an open standard, and based on that open standard, there were open source basic technologies, all free, like email servers, email clients. But on top of those open standards that are totally free, they developed a huge ecosystem that generated billions of dollars or euros of revenues, products like Gmail, Exchange, Yahoo, and so on. Second example, the World Wide Web Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Again, it's an open standard, totally free. On top of that standard, open source basic technologies like web servers, web browsers, or content management systems like Drupal. And the entire internet as we know it today is built on those open standards and open source products. Google uses them, Amazon, Facebook, they all rely on open standards and open source technologies. So those technologies that are initially free have created trillions of dollars or euros of annual revenue. So they are about money. We couldn't imagine our digital infrastructure today without open standards. The open web works like this. All the services on the left side, they can talk to each other. All users can connect to those services. Users can connect to users. We all know that. We can have M-to-N relationships between all the actors on the playing field. The problem is that huge motor for innovation and prosperity is in danger, because companies like Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, they are trying to build a closed web. They want to destroy the principles of open opportunities and equal opportunities. They are deliberately targeting the open web. They try to sit in the middle. They want to control the game. For us as media companies, that's a huge problem, because they take all the relationships away from us. We don't have the relationship anymore to our users or readers, and they take away from us the relationship with our advertisers. They want to define the rules of the game, and they want to choose who is allowed to play. But that's not only a problem for media companies, it's a problem for everyone who wants to play on that playing field. So what we have to do, what we think we have to do, is to join forces and support the open web together. What those companies are doing is not illegal, so we cannot face them in court. But we should join forces and support the open web together, a lot of small and medium-sized companies, and then we can save the open web. And our first project in that direction is Thunder. Because what we are doing here is building a coalition of companies that all jointly work together in an open source environment and in which everyone has equal opportunities to save money or to make new money. And that leads me to Thunder. Let me give you a quick context about Hubert Burda Media, because that's important how we got started with Thunder. Hubert Burda Media has hundreds of brands. Most of those brands target very different target audiences. For example, well, Playboy targeted obviously mostly at men, or Mein Schöner Garten, which is My Beautiful Garden, is the gardening community, or InStyle with women interested in high-class fashion. And they all have different business models, like paid content, e-commerce, display advertising, and so on. And from a technical perspective, and that's where we came from, what was even worse is that they all had their own content management systems. They had proprietary systems, they had open source systems, they had different open source systems. If they had the same open source system, it was different versions. If they had the same system with the same version, they had different configurations. It was a nightmare to maintain. And with the next slide, you see that Ruven and I have shared the stage a few times because he sat down on early on. Martin Sorrell, the CEO of WPP, is the largest advertising agency in the world. He said, technology will never again change as slowly as it does today. What does that mean? It means that innovation cycles are getting shorter and shorter. And we have to adapt to new technologies in ever shorter time frames. And with hundreds of brands and the same number of content management systems, that was unsustainable for us. We had to change our mode of operation in order to survive. And that's why we thought about Thunder. We created our own Drupal distribution to be used by all our brands. We very early on chose Drupal 8. It was still in beta phase. We took Drupal core, some modules that we needed for professional publishing, and then we turned to our first project with Thunder. That was Playboy.de. Of course, not all the functionality they needed was available in Drupal at that time, so we created some new functionality and added that to our distribution. All that functionality could then be used by our second project, which was InStyle.de. And here we saw that our relaunch times got much shorter than they had been before. We saved huge amounts of money for that. And the new functionality that InStyle.de created for themselves was introduced into Thunder as well and is now part of the distribution. And so it went on with many, many, many brands at Hubert Burda. And that's what so we were very successful with that approach. Just a very quick word about the relationship between Drupal and Thunder. Thunder is Drupal. It's a Drupal distribution. It's 100% Drupal. And whatever we do for Thunder gets played back into the Drupal community. Of course, actually, most of the improvements we do in the community, in the Drupal community, and then incorporate them into the Thunder distribution. So this is very important, and it will always be like that, and Thunder will always be taking part in all the upgrades and updates of Drupal itself. Yeah, as I said, Playboy.de, the first success, second success of Thunder, and that was our proof that the approach was working, was InStyle.de, where we could reuse the functionality. The relaunch time was 70% shorter than it had been in the previous relaunch. By now, we have migrated many, many websites to Thunder. They have a combined total 45 million monthly visits at the moment and about 200 million page impressions per month. So this is not a hobby anymore. This is real business. And over the past 2 years, we roughly estimate that we have saved about 3 million euros with Thunder. So it's about money. And now the most important part. Very early in the project, we realized that if that would be useful, if that was useful for Burda, which is a model of the publishing industry as a whole, with all those brands and different small kingdoms within the corporation, then it would be useful for other publishers as well, or for professional publishing in general. And that's why we decided to open source everything that we had done with Thunder. And now everyone can use it for free and unlimited, and we hope that the community will jointly enhance the system. And actually what the plan 1 year ago, it really went well, because now we have already received many, many contributions from the Drupal community, from the Thunder community, and they all jointly improved the system. And with that, everyone gets faster. You know that because it's the same, it's the Drupal principle, and we all save costs, and we all benefit from that cooperation. And by the way, this is the only way that we as Hubert Burda Media can benefit from the Thunder project, like all the other players in the coalition, because there's no licensing model or any other business model involved. Thunder is free under the GNU General Public License, just as Drupal. And everyone can decide whether they want to share their improvements to Thunder with the community. They can share everything or nothing or just a bit of it. As I said, there is no business model for Hubert Burda Media behind that except for saving costs. Obviously, we hit the right spot at that time. Those are the logos of some of the companies we met in the first 3 months after we started speaking about Thunder publicly. We don't do any active sales activities. We don't call anybody. We just do things like this, what I'm doing here, some sort of marketing. So all those companies really came to us. They phoned us. They met us. It was a huge success. We didn't expect that. But we realized, and here again, it's about money, that all those companies, if they wanted to implement Thunder, they would need help. Because as you all know, Drupal is not like you download a distribution or the system itself, click on install, and you have an up and running website that you can really use for professional publishing. So we had to create some kind of recommendation system to help all those companies who wanted to use Thunder to get help. That's why we created the Certified Thunder Integrator program. Here again, we don't earn any money with that. There are no licensing fees. We just wanted to make sure that those guys that we recommend to other publishers, that they know what they do and that they are generally nice people. So the requirement is you do a professional Thunder project in a professional environment. It's not the blog of your sister, but it has to be a professional thing. Then we do a code review, see if you know what you're doing with Drupal, and then we call up the client and ask them how was the cooperation, how was the project management, things like that, and then we would list you as a CTI. You would get that. You would be allowed to use that badge, and we would list you on our website and recommend you to other publishers. Those are our current CTIs, or those that are in the process of getting certified. Our goal is to have at least one in each country of the world. We're a bit away from that, but we're getting closer. At that time, when we started with Drupal 8, a lot of the functionality we needed for professional publishing was missing, and we were not in the position to add that functionality ourselves. So we asked industry partners to come up with solutions and that we could integrate into Thunder. Those are some of the partners. For example, Next TV, they provide us with a video content management system and a video player. It's a freemium model. The first 100,000 video streamings per month are for free, so it should be enough for a small to medium regional newspaper website. Riddle.com, they add some a functionality where you can very easily add or create interactive content like polls, quizzes, personality tests, things we need especially for our women's titles, and so on and so forth. The goal is to jointly develop the world's best possible content management system for professional publishing. And in general, we would like to establish a culture of sharing and cooperation in the publishing industry, which used to be very tough and everybody would work against each other, although especially in fields like technology, we don't really compete on that playing field. I would like you to do 3 things after this talk or on Monday when you get back to your offices. First, please evaluate Thunder and see if you or your clients could use it, and then join our coalition, use the system, help us improve it. The second thing is, please look for other problems in your industry or your clients' industries that could be solved in the Drupal fashion, like working together, fields that are not really at the heart of the competition in the industry, where it would really make sense to join forces, to work together. And the third thing is, please help us support the open web. Tell the story of the open web, ask yourself what you can do to save the open web, and just make people conscious about what's going on at the moment in the world and those companies destroying the open web. And of course, a fourth thing is, let's stay in contact, sign up for our newsletter, follow the Thunder core team on Twitter, and join our Slack channel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.